right, so today's date is April 12th, 2023, and can you say your name for me?
Yeah, my name is Maria Garcia.
Awesome. And so where is home for you right now?
Right now, home is in Raleigh, North Carolina.
And is that where you're from?
Yes.
Awesome. How long have you been in the Charlotte area and why?
I've been in Charlotte for 3 years now, and it's because I go to school here.
Awesome. And what was your experience like in the last 2 or 3 years with the COVID pandemic?
Yeah, so the first year of COVID, I was starting off in college, finishing off my high school year and starting off in college. So it was a bit different than the traditional college experience and in the high school experience because I didn't have a graduation or a prom or anything like that. And my first year of college everything was virtual. And then I wasn't able to move on to campus until the second semester. And then from there was hybrid courses. And it's just now getting back to usual classes.
Okay, and what do you remember about like the early days of it? What was going on with the lockdown period and all that?
I just remember people being scared to getting COVID, and there was a lot of confusion about it. And I was mostly upset because my last year of high school wasn't the traditional last year of high school.
Yeah, what was it like with school shutting down and going online?
Yeah, so my district did it to, they did it to, are you guys gonna cut some things out?
Not really. You're good. Keep going.
Okay. The district made it to a point where seniors didn't really have to do any more work for the rest of the semester. So it was more or less like I graduated that March 13th.
That's pretty crazy. How did you feel about that at the time?
At the time, I was very excited because I thought it was just a 2-week break. And I remember I was taking anatomy and I wasn't really good at that. And just knowing that I passed just like that was really alleviating. But then once it started to hit that my senior year was going downhill, it didn't feel so great anymore.
And what was that like kind of socially being like away from school and away from like people?
Yeah, so it was very depressing. I was very depressed for a bit just because also my whole illusion of how great my senior year was going to be was going downhill, and then also not being able to be with friends, or like there was a lot of plans that we just weren't able to go to, and a lot of birthday parties I missed also because we just couldn't celebrate.
Yeah, what did you do during those like early days of the lockdown? What was kind of what changed about your routine?
Yeah, so I was very involved in the gym, and the gym shut down, so I wasn't able to do that anymore. So I switched to running outside and just staying inside and playing. The only way I was able to connect with friends was through like Minecraft. So I went through a phase of Minecraft and just a lot of TikTok.
Awesome. And what was it kind of like with your family and your friendships? How did any of those relationships change?
Yeah, so either I got really tired of them or I really needed them in my life. And so it was either I didn't want anything to do with you or I needed you to be there every single day.
And how has has any of that kind of stayed? Did you learn anything from how those relationships changed?
Yeah, I realized that I can't be with people for too long and that, like I need breaks from people, and then if I get too much of them, like I said, like I was hanging out with the same people every single day, it was just too much.
And what effect did like the pandemic have on your learning experience as a student going into college? Did you feel behind or ahead, or was there like a big gap?
Yeah, since my high school did it to the point where we seniors basically graduated and didn't have to do coursework, it took a lot for me to get adjusted to the Zoom classes and stuff. It was very hard since I was in my room at home and I would see my bed and wanted to get into it and not really do schoolwork. So it was a lot of trying to reprogram my brain.
And what was that like kind of socially, like going into college? Were your expectations different from what actually happened? How did you like transition into coming to school?
Yeah, so my freshman year, I was moved into an upperclassman dorm, and it's Byram, so it was a suite-style dorm, but I had the whole suite to myself, which sounds great in itself, but it wasn't so great because I just didn't make any friends, and the only friends I had were the people on my floor or my neighbors, and everyone else was in different rooms, like freshman dorms, which were more communal style, which those are known to make the sense more community based, and that's where a lot of freshmen find their friends. But since I skipped out on that opportunity, I wasn't able to make friends that way.
And what Was it like when you were like going out once things started opening up? What was that experience like? How did you feel about it? How did your family react to it? What was it like wearing masks, all that?
Yeah, so I remember at one point I went to the club with a mask on, and then I was like, this is so dumb. Like, I was like, why am I, like, it just felt strange. Like, it felt very strange. Just going everywhere without a mask, and then, like, you forgetting a mask, and it was kind of like forgetting your phone at that time. So it was very difficult to transition to that. And then after leaving the mask was very hard also, since you got so used to having the mask.
And was there anyone that like was close to you that ended up being affected by COVID? Anybody in your like family or close friendship circle? Was that like a problem?
Yeah, my dad got it. It was like within one of the first people in the county to get the COVID, so everyone was really scared. And I remember my family was like, "Don't tell anyone. Like people are gonna get scared." Blah blah. And we had to isolate from him, which was very depressing. And then eventually, like we all just got it, like not in that time frame, but like different time frames once everyone started getting it, and it was more like, "Oh yeah, I did too have COVID."
And what was that process like over time as like everybody found out more information about COVID, restrictions change, guidelines change, and everybody learned new things about it?
Yeah, well, in the beginning and for a very long time, it was very confusing and it was very scary because we didn't have a lot of information on it. And then once the vaccines came out, it was a sense of relief, but also a lot of people were scared just because they didn't know the science behind it and they thought like it was a vaccine that was just made overnight. But the more I started learning about it, the more I was able to talk to people about it. And I even had an internship, which was interfaith in the vaccine and just encouraging the community to know more about the vaccine and encouraging people to get it.
What was it like moving to Charlotte during all of this? Was there a difference that you felt being in Charlotte? What was kind of like the energy around the COVID pandemic?
Yeah, so I wasn't able to explore Charlotte as I initially thought I was. And I did Postmates for a while, and that was the only way I knew around Charlotte. And so, like, now when I drive around and I recognize places, it's because I did Postmates and DoorDash for a while because I couldn't be, like, actually socially around Charlotte.
Yeah. And how do you think this experience of the last few years has kind of shaped you as a person? Do you feel like it changed anything about you? Do you feel like you learned stuff?
I feel like it taught me more about science, like just being able to like read these scientific articles about the vaccine and like about like numbers that were like affected and like it really like showed more about the medical side of things and how hospitals and the whole country like took care of this. It really like opened up different doors to see like the disadvantages in different communities and where the vaccine was placed. And so that's where I strive on learning. So it was very, very educational for me.
Awesome. And so would you say that were there any other positive outcomes out of the pandemic, either for you personally or like generally in society?
Well, I feel like now more people are advocating for those regions that were disproportionate, like the Native American population and stuff, and the Latino community and stuff. Like there's a lot of myths going on with that, and it's just like a lot of educating people, and so in different communities overall, and just like for me personally, like I just learned a lot about myself, and then I had a lot of time to learn about other people and like hobbies that I once didn't have time for. I out of nowhere had a lot of time for, and so yeah, it was nice.
Has that like changed any of your like priorities or interests or plans going forward?
Well, yeah, because my senior trip, I was gonna like vacation with my family, and so instead, we obviously weren't able to do that. So like now, it's like taking advantage of the lost time in a way, to take advantage of the opportunities that I have now.
Awesome. And what are some of the like long-lasting consequences of the pandemic, either for you?
Yeah, I feel like long-lasting effects would be the racial things that went on with it. The president that was on with it not on campaign, presidential term during that time. I feel like that like really divided the country as a whole.
Yeah. And what did you miss the most during like the pandemic and everything?
I missed my friends and I missed going out. Like senior year was going great, and then bam, it was gone. And then my freshman year was kind of gone too. And it's just now getting back to the sense of like normality or like ways it was beforehand.
And do you think that's like kind of made your like priorities change a little bit of how you like want to do things?
Yeah, well, yeah, now I know that not everything's guaranteed and to just live life in the present because you can't keep planning for the future when you don't know what the future holds.
Yeah. And were there any stories or like experiences that happened like during the pandemic that you thought were either like interesting, bad stories, funny stories, weird stuff that happened? Anything like that?
Like in my life?
Yeah, just any like weird moments related to the pandemic, funny, sad.
Well, I took a lot of trips to like the beach, and I really enjoyed nature, and so those are like the good memories that I have from there. Just being able to reconnect with nature and being outside, and I got really, really tan, and yeah, those were good memories.
Awesome. And is there anything else I haven't touched on that you thought was really memorable from the pandemic? Anything that you like have thought about like in thinking of the past?
Nope.
All right.